And joining me now is a member of President Trump's legal team, Jay Sekulow. By the way, he's also the chief counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice. Mr. Sekulow, welcome to Meet the Press and happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Chuck.
Let me begin with getting some clarification here. The president tweeted earlier this week, "I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director, witch hunt." So let me start with this. When did the president become aware that he was officially under investigation by the special counsel?
The president is not under investigation by the special counsel. The tweet from the president was in response to the 5 anonymous sources that were purportedly leaking information to the Washington Post about a potential investigation of the president. But the president, as James Comey said in his testimony, and as we know as of today, the president has not been and is not under investigation.
Well, I go back to the tweet. Then why did he say he was? I mean, was this he just mistweeted? Are we not to take him at his word?
No, the president's tweet was in response to the Washington Post story. So the Washington Post issued a story that had 5 anonymous sources, which they never identified what agencies those sources originated out of. The response from the president, using social media, was about that story. But let me be very clear here, as it has been since the beginning. The president is not and has not been under investigation for obstruction.
Okay, then why is the president confused? Is he just is this just that he's thinks the media is correct here or not? I'm confused by this. No, why is he not taking your legal advice or other legal advice saying, "Hey, don't, Mr. President, you're not under investigation, so why tweet this?" This is why there's confusion.
Chuck, I think you're reading more to the tweet than what's there. The president sent out that tweet directly in response to the Washington Post story with the 5 anonymous, unnamed sources from unnamed agencies. So that's why he put that in the tweet. So, look, the president has been, as you know, very effective in utilizing social media. But I want to be very clear here and very direct. The president has not been and is not under investigation. And the tweet was in response to the Washington Post story with no named sources whatsoever. In fact, as you know, Chuck, no named agencies whatsoever.
Let me go to something else of that tweet. He said, by the man who told me to fire the FBI director. I assume that is a reference to the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. The president himself said he was going to fire the FBI director regardless of whatever the Deputy Attorney General or the Attorney General said. So I'm confused there. Who made the recommendation to fire James Comey? Was it the president's decision or was it the recommendation of the Deputy Attorney General?
Well, first of all, the president ultimately makes the decision. That's what he is as president of the United States. There's a collaborative and discussion, very thorough process. I'm holding in my hand the letter that was sent from the Attorney General of the United States with the memorandum from the Deputy Attorney General of the United States regarding the situation involving former FBI Director Comey. And in that recommendation is a recommendation for removal. Now, as you know, presidents have the ability to think about these situations not in a vacuum. There's a process. When he met with his Attorney General, when he met with his Deputy Attorney General and reviewed their recommendations of what they thought the appropriate course of action should be, both were convinced, with, as I say, a long and very persuasive document, that James Comey should be removed. But here is the irony, and Chuck, I think this is really important. If the leaks were correct about this investigation, again, those are leaks, they're not substantiated, and we have no knowledge of an investigation. But if those leaks were correct, here's what the legal theory of this case would have to be. And this would raise a serious constitutional issue right out of the beginning. You would have had the President of the United States reviewing a letter and recommendations from his department head, and that would be the Attorney General of the United States, as well as others. Sure, he had consultation with other people, and that's the nature of these issues. And he made a determination based on that consultation and based on a deliberative process to terminate the FBI director, as they recommended.
But Mr. Sekulow, that is not what the president said to Lester Holt. The president said to Lester Holt that he had already made the decision to fire James Comey. So I'm confused here. You just said he asked for this consultation, which, by the way, let me also say here, Mr. Rosenstein, in his prepared statement in his testimony to Congress last month, said, "My memorandum is not a statement of reasons to justify a for-cause termination." So I am confused by your rationale here.
Well, let me just say two things. Number one, the letter to the President of the United States from the Attorney General of the United States is, therefore, I must recommend that you remove Director James Comey and identify an experienced and qualified individual to lead the great men and women of the FBI. That's pretty unqualified. And attached to that is a memorandum from the former, not this case, the Deputy Attorney General's office, where he lays out the reason of his concern and recommendation of removal was because of the handling of the Hillary Clinton matter. But let's take a look at what you just said. Here's what you just said. The president made the decision before. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, there was all kinds of decisions being discussed.
Right.
But this crystallized that decision. But the fact of the matter is the president, under the Constitution, has the authority to make that decision. Now, he has these two memorandums from his attorney general and his deputy attorney general. So here's the theory of this purported case from the Washington Post. I mean, just think about this for a minute. So the president of the United States takes action to remove the FBI director, and he has a recommendation from his attorney general and deputy attorney general to take that action. He's now, according to the Washington Post, being investigated by the same department who told him to take that action. Right. That's not constitutional.
Well,
that's not the way the Constitution works.
The question is going to be, though, what was the reason behind the firing? So let me ask you this. Was the reason having to do with his handling of the Russia investigation? Or was it having to do with his handling of the Clinton email investigation? The reason I ask you this is the memo that was written, the rationale by the Deputy Attorney General, did not discuss Russia. The president, in his interview with my colleague Lester Holt, said it was about Russia. Which is it?
Well, the memorandum from the Attorney General, you're right, it's about the Hillary Clinton matter, which was basis enough upon which he could be terminated, and was in fact terminated. So that's what the document says. But, you know, you raised an interesting point on the Lester Holt interview. Do you know when the president gave that full interview to Lester Holt, he said to Lester Holt from NBC News, your colleague, he said that if, in light of all of this, the removal of James Comey, in fact, he knew it, was going to lengthen the amount of time this investigation would take, but he thought it was in the best interest of the American people. So he was fully aware that if, in fact, he took this action, he would see a lengthening, or could see a lengthening of the process. So you cannot view this, in my mind, Chuck, or in any reasonable person's mind, especially someone that's representing the President of the United States, these things in a vacuum. There's multiple factors that come into existence. But let me tell you the factor that came into existence here. The President made the determination to remove the director of the FBI after consultation with others, and that determination is protected by the Constitution. Period.
Well, let me ask you this. Why does the President act as if he is so concerned about this investigation if he did nothing wrong? If this investigation is going to find that, and he knows he did nothing wrong, then he shouldn't be afraid of this investigation. It's being led by professionals, a guy like Robert Mueller, who is not a political guy. You know he's not a partisan guy. I'm just sort of curious, why doesn't the president embrace this investigation if he's innocent?
Because every day, the Washington Post and the New York Times are utilizing supposed leaked information about supposed investigations of the President of the United States. So his legal team and the President responds. But when you see a tweet, okay, or a utilization of social media, and the President has, I mean, his social media reach is over 100 million. A little bit more than probably are watching us today. I know you have good ratings, but reaches a lot of people. So that tweet takes, let's say, 15 seconds. This is not taking up the President of the United States' day. So he's responding to what he's seeing in the media in a way in which he thinks is appropriate to talk to those people that put him in office.
But again, you didn't answer the question. If the President is innocent, why is he afraid of this investigation? He's
not afraid of the investigation. There is no investigation. I want to be clear here. The tweet about the investigation
there is an investigation into what Russia did in the 2016 election.
And he told James Comey, when James Comey was still the FBI director, and James Comey testified to this, to continue that probe, find out what happened there. He's not worried about this, but there is not an investigation of the President of the United States, period.
Jay Sekulow, member of the President's legal team. I will leave it there. Thanks for coming on this morning on this Father's Day.
Thank you, Chuck.
I appreciate it. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.